Good afternoon and welcome everyone. I'm Donna Miller, President and Founder of C3 Workplace. Before we get started with the webinar, I just wanted to let you know that you are all muted, and if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat window and I will do my best to address them all, either live during the webinar or I can email you afterwards. And this webinar is being recorded. So to start off with, you may know I'm Donna Miller, President and Founder of C3 Workplace. At C3 Workplace, we believe that small business is what will turn our economy around. We also believe that when you connect small businesses, the power of collaboration will fuel their success, and that success will flow into the communities we live in. So by providing office space, administrative support, marketing support, bookkeeping, educational events like this one, and giving our clients a community of like-minded professionals to connect with, we are accelerating small business growth, and that's a pretty awesome thing. We're building this community, and one of the ways we build community is through these educational events. So I'm delighted that you could join us on this rainy, but let's all be thankful for the fact that it's rain and not snow, afternoon. So our theme for this month, and as you'll see up on the screen right now, is a recent blog of mine. Our theme for the month of February is task management, because the truth is time management is a myth. No one can actually manage time. All we can do is manage our tasks, which really that becomes a very powerful tool. So what I thought I would do, and today's topic is on Outlook and 7 tips to improve your Outlook productivity. And the truth is, I have to admit, I had a hard time limiting it to 7 tips. So what I thought I would do in this short webinar today is take you through how I use my Outlook and some of the tools that I use to manage my tasks and leverage my time. So you're looking at my desktop now, and the first thing I want to say to you is if you haven't already done this, find the little icon over here that has your Outlook bar and make sure you turn off the new mail desktop alert. To me, this is one of the most useless features of Outlook. Let's face it, we all get lots of email. We don't need to be reminded every time we get one. So that's a little pet peeve of mine that I encourage you to turn off that pop-up reminder. The other thing that I like to do is I don't find these buttons here useful, because I pretty much live in 2 things, and this is what I'm going to focus on today. I'm going to focus on inbox and calendar. So I can choose folder list here, and that gives me my inbox. And if I right-click on my calendar and open it in a new window, it stays open. That allows me on my taskbar down here to flip between. Close this one since we're not using that one. That allows me to flip between my inbox and my calendar without losing my place, so to speak. So my tip there is to right mouse click, right click. Of course, many of us don't even have mice anymore. Right click, and then you can open it in a new window. That also means that when I exit my Outlook and reopen my Outlook, if I do that by file exit as opposed to exiting out of the program, which I don't recommend, both of these will always come back open. Now, you're looking at my calendar. Yes, that really is my life. So one of the things I want to talk about is if you are not using folders, as you can see, I have many different folders here. I was speaking to someone before this webinar, and we talked a little bit about my inbox is a reflection of the buckets of work that I need to be keeping my eye aware of, and it also, to some extent, works as a task list for me. So I have folders for team members, for projects, for particular clients or initiatives that I'm working on, which is how I organize my email. But more importantly, I have a lot of rules set up. I'm going to take you down to, this is a part, this right here, this read later area of my inbox is one of the areas that I use a lot of rules for. And I saved a few things so that you could see exactly how I do this. I set up rules for all things events related. I don't know about you, but I get invited to a lot of different networking events. So I have a rule in my Outlook that says anything that has the word chamber in it goes straight to this folder. That allows me to focus on what I need to and come back to those items when I need to. I do the same thing with all of those Facebook and LinkedIn notifications that I get. I also had someone in my office recently take all my LinkedIn feeds, and instead of getting a daily digest, I now get a weekly digest, which is very helpful. So I said, how do I set up a rule? Let me show you how. It's so simple. You're going to love this one. Okay. Andrea Ferrari, she is a consultant that I use. So I'm going to right mouse click on this email. I'm going to go to create a rule. And I'm going to say, whenever I get an email from Andrea, as much as I consider her a valued partner, I don't need to read that in the middle of the day. I do once a day go through my read later folder. So I am going to say that any email from Andrea Ferrari is going to be moved to the read later folder. That's it. It will then ask me, do I want to go through my entire inbox? I'm gonna skip that. Okay. So that's it. Now, anytime I get an email from Andrea, it will automatically go into the read later folder. I cannot stress enough how valuable I think the rules are, and I want to take a moment to talk to you about, I just showed you one basic reason for creating a rule. There are many other reasons to use rules, not the least of which is you might want to never miss an email from a particular customer or vendor. There might be emails that you simply want to ignore, and you can send those directly to your junk mail folder. So take a little time, explore how rules work, and let me just show you another piece of rules. Okay, close that, you don't forget. All right, let's say from Kelly, I can go to advanced options, and here's where it gets really kind of interesting. Say you're going to go on vacation, and I want to make sure any email from Kelly only gets forwarded to Delilah. So I simply say, okay, when this rule arrives, the criteria is from Kelly. Next, I would like to forward it to, let me do this, and I'll pick Delilah. So now, any email that I receive from Kelly is going to be forwarded to Delilah. I can then add on. I could say, except if the subject contains chamber, probably a networking event, don't really care too much about that. You can create a list of words in here. So you can create some very powerful powerful rules around managing your email. The reality is, email is, in my opinion, a blessing and a curse. I think unless you figure out a way to manage it, it can eat you alive. So take some time to explore how to use rules to organize your email a little bit better. Another, let me cancel that rule, cancel, because I really don't want to send all my emails from Kelly to Delilah. It would probably drive Delilah crazy. Okay. Another really interesting piece of Outlook is to use templates. So say you want to create a template for an email. Now also, I have to tell you, and if you haven't done this lately, explore the help menu. There are so many things that you can do within these programs, or even just kind of look at the drop downs and see if there's anything that you go, oh, gee, that's new. Be curious. I think, you know, I'm a big proponent of being a student for life. That means being curious about the technology you're using as well. So if you want to create a template, you can simply go into your mail message. Let me make sure I'm getting this right. You created an email because you use the same email all the time, and then you can save as, and you will have the option to save it as an Outlook template. That's it. It's actually that easy to create a template. So explore how you might use templates. Are you sending the same emails again and again? How can you use templates to speed up your time? Take that one step further. Something I'm liking even more is called Quick Parts. And I don't know if anyone out there is using Quick Parts, but let me show you quickly how you would do that. This is where you have a particular, your signature, in essence, is a Quick Part, and I hope you have one set up. If you don't have a signature set up, we can help you with that offline. Shoot me an email. It's very simple. But say you have paragraphs that you use all the time. You can type it out, and now you highlight it, and you go to your insert menu, sorry about that, and you just save this selection to your Quick Parts gallery. Call it My Favorite Blurb, and you can call upon your favorite blurb whenever you want to use it. It's that simple. You will have to spend a little time around creating folders of where these are, but that's it. It's just that simple to use templates and Quick Parts. I think the trick, if you are going to use templates and Quick Parts, as in any type of situation like this, you want to take a few moments to think about your naming nomenclature. Have a system for how you name them so that they're easy to find. Make sense? Great. The other time savers that I use in Outlook are distribution lists. They are easy to create. Let me exit out of here. No. All right. If you can just create a new distribution list by either selecting members who are on your contacts or by adding a new member. So for instance, I have ambassadors for my Sparta location, and I have ambassadors for my Montclair location. So when I want to send an email to either, I can pull up my distribution list for my Montclair ambassadors, or I can pull up my distribution list, typo, for my Sparta ambassadors. And what that allows me to do is it incorporates all those names into the one list and allows me to, in one shot, send an email to a group of people that I regularly send to. Great time saver, very helpful. Okay. One of my next favorite things about Outlook, so I'm going to shift a little bit now from email to calendaring. I'm going to talk about basically 3 areas today. We talked a little bit about email, and the reality there is learn to use rules. They are just fantastic, and they're a huge time saver. Also, use templates and quick parts for text that you repetitively, emails or text that you repetitively use, and consider distribution lists for groups that you regularly send to. I'm going to talk a little bit about calendar. One of the things you may not know this, and you can do this between any part of Outlook, but if this Andrea Ferrati email was about an event that I wanted to add to my calendar, one of the things I like to do is I click and I drag that over to my calendar. It automatically creates an event. The title will be the name of the email. But what I love about this is all the detail is in the notes section of the calendar appointment. I find this really helpful so that when it comes time for the meeting with the person, I can log right on it and see exactly what the email exchange was, what it is we're going to talk about. There would be links to websites in here, and I can change the description to whatever I want it to be. Andrea Ferrati, we'll say this is going to be a conference call. I'm going to dial into, I always put the information in here because I may be traveling and it will be important for me to have this. And then obviously you edit the date and time. So I can take an email and I can convert it to an appointment on my calendar and maintain all the detail that was in the email in the calendar appointment. You can do that if you use the task list on Outlook, which I currently don't use. I use a different utility for that. The same principle applies. You can drag it and everything is in there. Now, at the same time, you can, within a calendar, you can insert files. You can say, I needed this file in here for this meeting. You can insert files. I love to keep an agenda item in here. If I'm having a meeting, I have standing meetings with each of my team members. So I will keep a little running agenda in there of the things that I need to talk about. You know, for those of you who've ever heard me speak, I often say that entrepreneurs are wonderfully creative and incredibly attention deficit. Keeping everything in my calendar related to the meeting helps me to stay organized and on task. So that is one of the ways I use my calendar. Now, just in general, I want to talk about scheduling because I do use Outlook calendar as my main mode of making sure I can do what I need to do. In other words, I book everything on my calendar. I make sure my exercise is on there, which is on there 5 days a week. I couldn't do it on Friday, as you could see, because I was leaving too early. So that meant, okay, I had to move it to later in the day. I put not only the event on the calendar, but here is, again, here's an event that I'm going to on Friday, and the contact, the information regarding the event are in the notes section. So now that's going to synchronize to my phone. So when I'm heading to the event or getting ready, I have it. But the other thing is I encourage you to put the time of the event in the subject line so that you can expand the time of the event to the actual time it's going to use up on your calendar. So in other words, even though this particular event starts at 7:15 and goes to 9:30, I need to leave at 6:30 because you never know what kind of traffic you're going to hit in the morning on Route 287, and I'm going to have some travel time on the back end. So if I include my travel time, you could see that some of these appointments are going to have to get moved. And this appointment is actually at that event, so that's how that works. So from a simple how to use your calendar, that's some of the things I do. Now, the reason I put everything on my calendar is, well, you could see what my life is like. But the reality is Unless I put it on my calendar, I'm very unrealistic about how much I can get done. The other thing I have gotten in the habit of doing on my calendar is scheduling no meetings. And the reason I do that is because invariably it fills up. So, for instance, before this webinar, I blocked out some no meeting time, and afterwards I blocked out some no meeting time, and as you can see, I had calls still in there. So use your calendar. I mean, I know many people who take the calendaring a step further and they do color coding, which you can absolutely do. You can go into there and you can categorize these. If you like colors, by all means, go ahead. That's not something that's particularly important to me, so I don't do it. The other thing I do use is, and I think many people appreciate this, is when I have a call with someone, I invite them to the call. Let me open up this account so you can see here's an invite, and I'm going to add Charles's, and then I can send an update. So they get an email and it automatically adds it to their calendar as well. I think using invites has become just about a universal language because it seems to me when I send invites out, invariably people accept them. Somehow there is a communication between Apple and PC here and Google Calendar, so I think it's a good way to organize yourself, but it's a good way to help out the person that you're going to be meeting with as well. Okay, we only have a few minutes left, so what I want to go over with you are my 3 favorite current plugins. Let me come back to my inbox here. Now, we have these toolbars up here, and these toolbars, many of them actually refer to external programs that I use. The first one I want to tell you about is TimeTrade. I subscribe to TimeTrade. It cost me $49 a year after, I think it was a 1-month trial subscription. It was completely simple to set up. What happens with TimeTrade, let me take you to the TimeTrade website. Close back over into this screen. Okay. What I can do is I can send someone a link so that they can access my calendar and book their own meeting. Okay, so let's just back up again. So here's what happens. Someone's calling me. Maybe, I don't do this with my great prospects because obviously I want to be very customer focused with them and make it as easy as possible. But if I'm kind of having a team meeting or a vendor meeting or a collaborative meeting, instead of going back and forth trading emails, I'm available, you're available, does this work, does that work, I send them a TimeTrade link so that they can access my calendar and book the link themselves. So let me see if this will show you. Okay, so this is what will happen. When they click on the link, this is what they see of my calendar. And this allows them to pick a slot and book that slot. They fill in their information, and they get an email, and it lands on my calendar. An amazing thing. Here is an example. Natasha was referred to me by a client, Natisha. She's thinking about setting up a business, so I said to her, I'm happy to have a quick call with you. I sent her the link. She booked her own appointment, and here's all the detail on my calendar. So that is TimeTrade. It integrates right into my Outlook, which again integrates onto, I'm an iPhone person, but I'm sure it integrates on any smartphone. That is my current favorite task management tool. It is very effective for me and it is definitely saving me time. The other plug-in, and that's what these are called plug-ins to your Outlook. The other plug-in that I'm a big fan of is we use Zoho for our CRM. So that means that all of our contacts and all the leads that we're working on are in our Zoho database. That's all it is. It's a database, but it shows us our pipeline, and it helps us to manage team across the sales process. Basically, what this allows me to do is with a click of a button, I can add an email to my Zoho contact selectively, because I don't want every email there, but some. And I can create contacts, I can create tasks, so the Outlook integrates fully with the Zoho. So to go back and recap before I finish up, we talked about email and the great use of folders and templates and quick parts. In Calendar, I want you to understand that you can drag anything from an email to a calendar appointment so that you have all the details in your notes. I encourage you to use the notes section within your calendar for agenda items, documents that you'll need for a meeting, or just reminders for yourself. Use your calendar to book everything so that you have a visual on what you can and can't do. I encourage you to have points on your calendar where you have no meetings and you actually block it off. And now that I've showed you time trade, that's another reason for me to block time off on my calendar, because I don't want those to show as open slots on time trade. And we talked about plugins. What are the plugins that make the most sense for you? Time trade, love it. Zoho, love it. Now for me, all of these things cross all platforms. They're on my PC, they're on my iPhone, they're on my iPad. And I'm sure that these things cross smartphone, smart tablet, doesn't have to be an Apple product. But the last thing I want to say to you is if you are not using Outlook, if you are using, some people like Google and Gmail. I find those to be a little bit clunky. I like the structure and the capacity of the full Outlook program. We actually, as of 2013, no longer have a server at C3 Workplace. We went to the cloud in stages, and what I would like to tell you is that the first thing we brought to the cloud was our Microsoft Exchange. We use a company called Rackspace, that's R-A-C-K-S-P-A-C-E. It is very affordable. I believe it is $10 a user, but they host my email. And so I don't have to worry about backing up. When I open my home computer, everything is the exact same. There are no synchronization issues. I don't have to worry about sending from one place to the other. So that would be the last tip that I would give you, is that consider a hosted Exchange service. It's very affordable, very powerful. If you're using Google or Gmail because it's free, I would tell you that $10 a month is a good amount to spend on a robust package like Outlook. So, 12:29, I have a minute to spare. I want to thank all of you for participating today. If you have any questions, you can email them to me at donna@c3workplace.com. I hope that you found this a good use of your lunch hour, or lunch half hour. Who really gets an hour anymore, correct? So I thank you for joining us. I hope you found it useful, and I hope that you will take time today to focus on managing your tasks so that you can leverage your time. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.